I mean, for me, I was very lucky. My coach, like that was coaching me for the first 7, 8 years, Casey Curtis. He's my dad's tall, and brother's tall. Uh, Men in general from Montenegro are quite tall. He was like, okay, he'll be tall eventually, but growing up in Canada, there wasn't always somebody to practice with, right? So you just go out on court and you hit a bucket of serves. And that was pretty much it. He'd be like, hey, you can hit 3 buckets of serves, your shoulder will be fine. You never serve at 100%. Learn to hit the spots, learn to hit the spins. And I was perfectly happy doing that. I could go, like, sometimes that was the whole practice of like, there's an open court for an hour. Let me grab a bucket of balls, I'll serve. Pick up the balls, I'll serve the other way. Pick up the balls. Like, that was it for me. And then obviously you look up to people. For me, it was Pete Sampras and seeing like, hey, a serve can make a career, right? A serve can be like a defining shot. Like there's not, I don't think there's really any other shot as a singular thing. Like, right? Nowadays, people are called serve bots for a reason, right? You don't hear anybody being called like a forehand bot, right? That's like making this a full on career from just a forehand.
I feel
So
like
I
Jack
think,
Sock did that for a little bit. Jack Sock had that for a little bit, I think.
I mean, yeah, but
Kinda.
then you could say that's pretty. I mean, you could say Fernando Gonzalez and all these kind of
Yeah.
things, but at the end of the day, the opponent can get the ball to your backhand,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. I think that's the difference. So
The thing is,
you
like,
serve
I'm
once every
standing
two
there and
games.
I'm telling you when I'm going to serve, right? I'm going to tell you
All
how
on
many
me,
times
yeah.
I'm going to bounce the ball. Like, it can make a career, right? It definitely made my career. If I had even what I would say a good serve, I think my results would be extremely different. Isner, Karlovic, Ivanisevic, like you could go down a long list of players that have made a career because of the serve.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was always aware of that. And the one thing I always understood as well, and it was kind of my coach telling me all the time, is like, I'll go around and see players practicing in this academy, like younger players mostly, and it's like everybody will hit through the middle, do their cross courts, volley a little bit, play some points, and maybe they'll hit some serves after that. Or like it's kind of feels like for a moment that can define a career, it's just put in the back of practice. So I mean, you can do all that kind of stuff, but I would always tell people like, hey, let's forget the serving at the end of like your practice. Come back in like a couple hours, go have lunch, like clear your mind, rest, come back and serve for another 20 minutes. Because the amount of attention that you're really going to put into it is limited. You're tired, and it's not the most exciting thing, right? It's a lot more fun, like being able to go back and forth with somebody across the other side of the net. So I was lucky in a lot of ways that there wasn't always somebody to practice with, but then I was always aware as well that it can make a massive difference.
In your time on tour, I've seen you've kind of seemed like the person that's gonna turn over every leaf to improve. Like I've seen you on changeovers doing like
Weird
meridian
things.
tapping.
Weird
I've
things.
seen
Yes.
you I've seen you playing with a friggin' mouth guard.
Yes.
Like what's the what's the strangest thing you've ever done, you think, to try to improve? Like how deep would you go into these rabbit holes to try to get a 0.5% better?
Well, and this one is because a good friend of mine that was always helping me out back many years, Bruce Schilling,
You
on
see how he
tour was
knows exactly which one it is right away?
because
He
he always gives
knows.
me grief about it. We're close friends. We still see each other every couple of weeks. Whatever clothing and like apparel was made for me, there was this one doctor, that kindest guy outfield that I worked with, but he believed that doesn't matter the color of the socks because of sunlight and the amount of sunlight that comes through, like fingertips and nails, because it's more sensitive skin. It's important that the front of your socks, where the toes are, the socks should never be any other color than white, so light can get through. But then you could argue that your feet are in shoes. But forever, when New Balance would give me a pair of socks, like the front was pretty much like a different color that nobody else was seeing. But like the toe box of the sock was always white. And even I could never get my head around it, like what difference it really made, but I still
What
did
are
it.
we talking about right now?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's where it goes. Like You got to do everything. I mean,
Are you
Yeah.
superstitious?
not superstitious, but like I said, I'm always paranoid that I don't do everything.
Okay.
So it's
So
not
that
like
you
I
don't think
have to.
that's like that wasn't superstition. That was just
It
like
wasn't soothing in that way, but it's like, hey, if I trust this person for all these other things they're helping me with, and they're going to tell me that, like, there's a reason why I trust this person, right? If I trust a coach, if I trust a physio, whoever's around me, it's because I think those people can help me be better, and those people can help me get closer to my goals. And that was one of the things. And I said, okay, let's put them in touch. Let's get these socks made. And that was it. Like
And the
that's
purpose
the
of that
weirdest
is
one.
what exactly? There was the purpose, like for the sock, for
more
the toe
more
box to be
light
what?
is supposed to be able to get to like your toe, like,
Okay.
you
And
know.
light is energy or like power? Like,
A lot of the thing, I mean, I could probably butcher this whole thing right now, but I was
please
just
do.
like, okay, white, the toe box of the socks has to be white. And I was like, hey, let's do it.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, and
Yeah.
that's like one
I'm trying
nobody
to
would
think.
ever see.
Yeah,
You do
ever.
anything weird like that, Justin? I don't think I have any of those. I don't
No,
think I
not
have any.
nothing to that
Does that mean I
extent.
don't? Does that mean I don't want it bad enough?
Like I've explored like meditation and visualization and these things, but I've never gone so far as to the equipment in that sense. But that's interesting.
Yeah, and
I'll
also like,
consider it.
I mean, I was always like, it, I would try anything, right? You gotta try. Like, at the end of the day, like, it doesn't help in any single moment. Like I always said, like 1% here, 1% there won't like make a difference
Stuck,
tomorrow.
you have to start
But
on.
it's
Yeah.
like just the way it compounds. Like I always
So
jokingly say, this is like if you do 1% more of something um, every day, people think like that you'll be like 365% better at the end of
it's
the
bad
year, but
math.
it's not that. It's like I think the math is like 3,700 and like 80 something percent like of it compounding. So I always just like would do that one little thing I could do every time. Like
Mhm.
I remember I always felt like when my trainer would be like, "Hey, do this amount of like reps," and he'd be sitting there, and I'd be like, "Let's just do one more." Like just that one at the end of practice. Like if the set said do 8, I would do 9,
You do
and
that.
I mean, yeah, that was my thing. Like, and I mean, when I was 5 years with Dalibor, it was always just like, if he's not telling me to slow down, I'm not pushing hard enough, right? And that was always the battle. Was like my guys would always have to tell me, like, hey, you're on the right track, like you're doing enough in that kind of thing. And because the first few times that happened, I was like, okay, you know what? That's my validation. Then I almost felt like the next time I had to always get to that point to make sure that I was putting it all into it, right? Like that somebody was telling me, okay, like do less, do less. Like that was kind of that's why I also like when I would be hurt and I'd come back, I'd always find my game pretty quickly because my confidence came from doing that. It wasn't from playing matches, right? I
I
could,
think it,
that meant a lot more to me, like just settling my mind. And like when you get to the tight moments of matches, like I did everything I could to be here. And then you kind of just like, let's figure it out. Let's see what I have.
I think I had a similar influence from my dad, but it was, you sound like you do it for you. Like they tell you to do 8, you do 9, but you do it for yourself. My dad was always, because everyone else is doing 8, you have to do 9.
Yeah.
It's like, how are you going to get better than someone if you're doing the same or less than them? You have to do more than them. And I don't know if that's like, you have to figure out your balance for yourself, not compared to the other people.
Yeah. And I mean, my big thing was when I was growing up, my parents just said like, hey, if you want to like all these things you tell us that you want to like achieve, you can't compare yourself to the kids around you because if you just do the math on it, like the kids that come from like small groups and stuff, those aren't the ones that everybody's going to make, right? You have to think like, what is somebody else doing somewhere in the other side of the world, right? How much are
Mhm.
they training? How much are they pushing? So that's, I think, where that paranoia came because it wasn't, I wouldn't be able to compare it to like who's right beside me. I was always thinking like, what is somebody possibly doing?
And
And
I
I
think
mean, I went to extreme case, like there was, I think from the age of like 4, like I started really doing fitness seriously around like 13, 14, where I was like, which I would say if I did it again, I would do that differently. But I remember for
Meaning
about,
earlier.
I mean, we would do it, you would go for runs and stuff, but it was just kind of like a part of it. But this was like you go there and it's like an hour and a half of just that. And I would take the subway. It was like an hour and a half each way for like an hour, 90-minute workout. So down there, down from like the suburbs of Toronto all the way downtown, and then all the way back up. And it never felt like I never stopped to be like, hey, am I really traveling like 3 hours and like falling asleep on like a bus or like a subway for a 90-minute workout? Like now that I kind of am paranoid always about my training and the setup around me, you tell me like you got to drive 20 minutes to like practice. I'm like, no, okay, we got to move somewhere and be like 5 minutes away from a court because you know all the times you go back and forth throughout a day. But to me, that was just like it at that point. It's like, okay, this is what I got to do.
Thanks for watching this
Sometimes
clip. If you want to watch the full episode, the link is in the description down below.